it with like rose-colored glasses, and Josh kind of has to remind me, "You were miserable." And
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Parenthood. I'm your host, Neha Garg, and this show is where we sit down with real parents and talk about what really happens behind the Instagram stories, the honest, unfiltered, and tender realities of raising children while raising ourselves. Today's episode is especially close to my heart. I'm speaking with someone who embodies so much of what parenthood stands for: realness, reflection, and resilience. Tena Pick is a social entrepreneur and the founder of Coro, a flexible, design first space that allows for child centered play and focused work. It is a space that understands the needs of working families for infrastructure that supports work life balance while also being the village. She's a mother, a leader, and someone who brings a beautifully grounded energy into every room she walks into. She is mom to 4.5-year-old Leo, a curious, high energy little human, and partner to Joshua, her best friend and co adventurer for over 13 years. Together, they have navigated big moves, growing careers, and the messy, miraculous road of parenthood. Tena's story includes the joy of toddlerhood, but also the shadow of postpartum depression and anxiety, something many experience but few speak of openly. Today, she's hitting her stride as a working mom and a woman reclaiming her own rhythm. Tena, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me on Parenthood.
this was like the most beautiful introduction ever. Thank you so much, Neha.
My pleasure. I'm glad you liked it. Let's start at the beginning, Tena, the beginning of you. If you had to describe yourself only three words or phrases that capture the essence of who you
Ooh.
are, what would they be and why?
Entrepreneur, because even when I was like 6 or 7 years old, I was making my grandparents eat at my cafe and buy my newspaper and come support my many businesses. So creation in some shape or form has always been a big part. I'm going to borrow a word that I've recently been described as by someone um, who was very kind, and it's not necessarily a word I would have used to describe myself before that, brave.
Uh-huh.
Because this really sweet 22-year-old woman was like, "You are so brave because you moved across all these countries and across continents so young. And you kind of, as you navigate life, you forget that these big steps actually are big steps. They just become kind of normal." And the third word I'm going to use to describe myself, because it really became such a central part of my identity in the past 4.5 years, is mom. No,
Ah,
I'm gonna caveat here. Feminist mom. Two words. I'm
wow.
cheating. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And tell me, Tena, what is your family like? You said, you are a feminist mom. So tell us something about Leo. What's he like these days?
He's crazy. I mean, in the best possible way. He's unbelievably brave, unbelievably curious. He's endless energy, like boundless energy. Um, really kind. I think that his default is just to be a really kind person. He's definitely, I don't want to say bossy because that has negative connotations. I'm going to say he's exhibiting leadership skills at a young age, mostly bossing us around at home. Very, very curious about how things work, very much tinkering with his hands, building stuff, building Legos, building everything. And just a really happy child.
Wow. Who does he
Yeah.
take after, you or Joshua? Or is he a mix of both?
He's a mix of us. He's friendly as like Josh is. He's super social. That's Josh. He's like very extroverted, makes friends with everybody. That's all Josh. He's the stubbornest person I have ever met. And Josh would tell you, I wonder who he takes that after. So the stubbornness definitely comes from my side.
Yeah. And tell us about Joshua. How did you two meet? How has your
Oh,
relationship evolved over the years?
um, so Josh is from Chennai originally, but he was born and raised in Dubai, and we met during our masters in London.
Uh-huh.
And so it's been a kind of an international love story. I knew from the moment I saw him that he's the father of my children. And I was like, I have met the love of my life. And I called my mom and I was like, I've met the love of my life. And my mom was like, okay, Tena, you're crazy. You've met this guy once. But I was super convinced from the beginning. And so then 1 year in London, we were pretty much studying together, living together, partying together, everything. And then I moved to Dubai after London and we got married a year and a half into our relationship. I was super young. I was 25 when I got married. I've been married for 13 years, which is like
Wow.
crazy. Uh, but the good thing about getting married so young was that there was no pressure on having a child immediately.
Yeah.
So we've only had Leo 8 years into our marriage, which was actually really cool. Then we lived in Dubai for 6 years. We had a company together called Sustainability Platform. We did a lot of impact consulting and CSR consulting together. And then 7 years ago, we moved to India. And it's actually it's his first time living in India as well, because he grew up in the Middle East
Wow.
and
Yeah.
then studied in New York and then in London. So that was a big step, but obviously the biggest challenge to our relationships, forget about working together, forget about the moves, it was the child.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't divorce him or him me in the first year of Leo's life, we're good because I don't think that anything puts that much strain on a relationship as having a newborn. You had just really have no idea what you're getting yourself into once you have a kid.
That's
And so that's been our past 13 years. And I think that minus this first year of Leo's life, which was hard for multiple reasons, it was COVID and I had postpartum depression and little babies are just difficult anyhow. I think that we really are like hitting our stride. And obviously in life, everything always happens at the same time. Now, your career picks up at the same time that you have a small kid and you're moving and then the parents are aging, like everything kind of happens at the same time. So I would say that this is obviously more like life admin oriented period. It's more life admin than romance. But we still find those moments of like, oh my God, I love you so much. I'm so glad that you're my husband.
and tell me, Tena, you have called yourself best friends and life partners in the truest sense. What does that look like in your daily life?
Just unwavering, true support. The only reason why I do any of the things that I do, and I've been serial entrepreneur, which only means that a lot of things have failed, so I've moved on to other things. Um, the only reason that I had that kind of freedom to do things and experiment is because every time I ask Josh, but what do you think? His response is, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Try. And just like this absolute support on the day-to-day basis with things like life admin, how I said, with equitably raising our son, that it doesn't just fall on my plate. To understanding that it can't be 50-50 at all stages of life, right? Sometimes his career demands more of him, sometimes my life demands more of me. So just adjusting to those changes in the dynamics as they come up. And while still being like, yeah, you know what? I do want to go out for a drink with you on a Friday night because I actually do enjoy your company. So I think that this like partnership and really understanding that the changes in life and in the ebbs and flow of life are going to demand different things from us at different moments. But being able to create that resilience internally as a couple and answer those challenges as they arise. And he's really insanely supportive. I said, I want to go back to school. I want to do my master's. He's like, cool, go do your master's. While taking on like then more within the house and I hope that he would say the same about me, because I think that that really is where that like partners in the true sense of the word
Yeah.
comes from.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And let's go back to the beginning of your parenting journey. Can you tell us a little about your pregnancy and birth experience with Leo?
It took me a very long time to get pregnant, a
Mm-hmm.
very long time, to the point that we actually applied for adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And on my parents sent a letter why we should adopt. His mom wrote a letter. We went with a lawyer. And on the day that we submitted all of the documents, I was feeling kind of weird and I took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was, yeah. So apparently the only thing was that we had to remove that stress of, oh my God, I want to get pregnant. And then it worked. And that was a Wednesday. And on Friday, the first lockdown started in India
Wow.
because it was just as COVID hit. So obviously that was like a really stressful time. No one really knew what was happening, what's COVID. I'm obviously not Indian, so I was unsure if I was even going to be able to go to Croatia while I was pregnant. I wasn't. My parents haven't seen me pregnant, for instance, and they won't
Wow.
because I'm done having kids. So it was like a really stressful period. And also the pregnancy was hard. I hated being pregnant. Hated. I was puking from before I found out I was pregnant till 30 minutes before I had my C-section. Like I was vomiting the entire time. And it was COVID, so we're just sitting on the couch and eating. I gained a ton of weight. There was no like working out, none of that. However, on the plus side, because all of the work moved online, I was actually continuing to work pretty much until I went into labor. So at least there was like that distraction and so on. But a lot of the things that I thought were going to be part of my pregnancy, like wearing cute maternity clothes or having a baby shower, none of those things happened because it was COVID and lockdown. So my baby shower was online. And I spent the whole pregnancy wearing Josh's like oversized t-shirts, none of my cute maternity dresses. So anybody who has been pregnant through COVID remembers how warped that whole period was and
Mhm.
just how different. And it took me a while to get over the feeling of like I was robbed of certain experiences in my pregnancy. Even going to the doctor and Josh not being able to go to the scan and, all of those things. Luckily, I gave birth in between two waves. So Josh was allowed to be in the birthing room with me. But Leo, being as stubborn as he is, now this is very on brand for Leo. I was in labor with him for 36 hours. He just did not want to come out. Uh, he just decided that he's not coming out. So the 36 hours of labor ended in an emergency C-section. It's very on brand for Leo. Well, he comes at his own pace and he does things when he wants to do. So that was my pregnancy. Now I look back at it fondly, and I think that we all kind of have pregnancy amnesia and look at it with like rose-colored glasses. And Josh kind of has to remind me, you were miserable and you were vomiting the whole time. You did not have a good time. But I look back and I'm like, oh, so sweet. And it was just Leo and me, and he was in my belly. But obviously, yeah, I mean, it was a weird experience given COVID and being away from my mom, all of those things that you would have thought that you would have had as
Yeah.
kind of support
Yeah.
during pregnancy and immediately in postpartum.
Yeah, yeah. And talking about postpartum, you shared that it
Oof,
was really hard, marked
oof.
by depression and anxiety. If you're
Yeah,
comfortable, could you take
yeah,
us
of
into
course.
that space a little? What was it like, and how did you eventually find your way through it?
It was death. I don't have a better word to describe it. So if you ask any of my friends who kind of has the least chances of being depressed or anxious, I'm known for like my mental resilience, right? I've never had any mental health issues, touch wood. And so when I was pregnant and when you're preparing for birth, I was preparing for all of those things. Like I had a lactation consultant and, I had pelvic floor therapist. I
Hmm.
did not have a mental health therapist or a psychologist number to dial, right? Because it never even occurred to me. This baby was so wanted. It took us so long to get pregnant. I was so excited. It never even occurred to me that, oh, this might happen, right? And you know about baby blues and all of those things. But it's like, okay, this is not something that's going to happen to me because I'm in such a good place. I have a supportive partner. I'm in a good financial situation. Why would this happen to me? And then Leo came and I died. It was as if this like thick fog just descended on me. And every day was a struggle. And I just did not see the light at the end of the tunnel. There was a lot of things that I think are quite normal. Grief over losing your life and how it was, right? From being this like very active person with a big social life who does things all the time to being trapped on the couch under a baby that's attached to your boob and crying for 12 hours a day is more from like, oh, it's a shock to have a newborn and baby blues to just like full out depression and the anxiety that came with it. I stopped sleeping So
Mm.
even when someone would take Leo away and they'd be like, you nap for 2 hours, I just could not. It came to the point that I was having hallucinations and like it was a really bad scene. So when I went to see my gynecologist, I told her the baby is fine, but I'm really not doing well. And she said, okay, firstly, you start therapy now, today. And if it doesn't work, in 3 weeks you come back and I will give you Zoloft. I will prescribe antidepressant to you. And just knowing that someone is taking me seriously and that there is a solution, like, okay, I just have to try this one thing and then there's medication and people are going to help me get better. Then I went to the pediatrician and I said how I'm struggling with breastfeeding and with sleep and with all of those things. And he was like, okay, give him a bottle. And for someone to give me permission to be like, oh, okay, I don't have to suffer through all of this. Then I got into therapy. Then that evolved into couples therapy as well, because I think that's so important in those early days of parenthood, because your relationship changes so dramatically. And then I started talking about it a lot,
Mm.
about how much I'm struggling. And then you realize that this is such a common experience. It's
Yeah.
just that no one really talks about it. And you realize that it's not you, you're not crazy, it's not going to be forever. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It is a unifying experience that so many women have. But we just keep things in the dark. But the thing is, shame and guilt die when you put light on them, right?
Yeah.
The biggest thing is the guilt. Why do I feel like this?
Yeah.
I do not deserve this baby. And then people tell you, well, at least you're both healthy. That's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's the bare minimum. Like being healthy in 2025 with all of these medical advancements and everything else, that's a given. I'm not being like, that some people have it worse. Some people always have it worse. That does not mean that what you're going through is not legitimate, right?
Yeah.
And the fact is that in India, the second the mother gives birth, she stops mattering. You
Yes.
have a checkup when you're pregnant every 3 weeks. I gave birth and I asked my gynecologist, when do I see you again? She said, when you get pregnant again. So there's like zero care.
Yeah.
And when do I come back from my pap smear? And she's like, well, you're pregnant. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, where is the care? Where is the healthcare for the woman once she gives birth? You're only interesting to doctors while you're pregnant.
Yeah.
You're only interesting to other people as well while you're pregnant. You're the walking incubator. Then you pop the baby out. No one asks you anymore. It's just, how's the baby? How did the baby sleep? Who asked you, how did you sleep? How are you doing? Right? So really, we need to change that narrative from, because babies are almost always okay. It's the
Yeah.
parents, it's the mother that's suffering through it, right? We really need to change the narrative of who do you actually like come visit when you visit the postpartum mom, and who are you actually giving care to? Because there is zero care for postpartum women
Yeah.
in India. And mind you, I live in Bangalore. I have access to private medical care. I have access to people like I said, lactation consultants and pelvic floor rehab. And I still struggled to find adequate help. So I really shudder to think what it's like for women who, A, don't have supportive families, who are
Yeah.
being told to pretty much suck it up because you have a healthy child and that's it, or B, do not have the socioeconomical opportunity to reach out to the kind of help and support that they actually need postpartum.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell me, what was it like for Josh as your partner and co-parent?
Terrible. It was terrible for him, poor thing. He went into like full on robot mode where he was just taking care of everything. And mind you, it's COVID, so there's no house help, there's no nanny, there's no nothing. So he just went into like full on robot mode, clean, cook, take the baby, change the baby, make sure that I don't kill myself. It was really hard. And this is why we kind of insisted on transitioning into couples therapy to
Yeah.
actually see you cannot ignore an equitable partner's mental
Yes.
health in the process as well, right?
Yes.
And why I'm saying equitable, because for a lot of couples, this does not happen. This like load is not shared equally. It was terrible for him, especially because you married someone who is a shell of themselves all of a sudden, right? This like whole vibrant, everything that you would love about me is reduced to a shell.
Yeah.
And no one can tell you, well, it's okay. It's only going to last, until the baby turns 3 months and then she's going to be fine. You don't know. You don't know how it's going to be. No?
Yeah.
And I really worried that the change to me was permanent, but luckily it wasn't. But you really can't see like where the end of that is, right?
Yeah.
So it was a super hard period for him. Then we got smarter. Like I got a night nurse. to help us actually. So a little bit of load of him also was, so he could focus more on caregiving to me than to the baby.
Yeah.
Because I'm European, so I very much had the attitude of like, I don't need all of this help, things that at least here are a lot better structured. You can get access to help. Why would you be cleaning with a 3-day-old, right? But I was very much, I don't need any of those things. And then it was COVID, so obviously you couldn't really have people in your house and so on. So that was also the challenge where he just took over pretty much running everything and managing everything, including me. And I only had to manage myself and my mental health and feeding the baby. That was like my only job.
Was there a was there a moment that felt like a turning point or even a glimmer, or when things began to feel different, or was there a gradual journey?
There were a couple of strong ones, strong glimmers. First was going back to work. I did my first workshop postpartum when Leo was 3 months old.
Wow.
And it was online. So luckily, like COVID had its benefits, I think, for me,
Yeah.
because I could work for longer and I could come back to work sooner because it was a virtual workshop. That was the moment when I was like, whoa, that part of me still exists and I can still access it. Um, when Leo started sleeping through the night, obviously, I think that we absolutely underestimate how insanely little sleep mothers run on. And then, look, I personally think that newborns are very boring. They're like potatoes, they don't do anything, and you have to keep them alive. They're a ton of work, but you get nothing back from them. So when he started, like, they start smiling and they start recognizing you and you can do things with them. And COVID restrictions lifted, so we could go to the park, we could go to brunch. I would just pop him in the carrier, we would go everywhere. And I was like, wait, I can still have my life. It's just kind of even nicer because I get to do it with him.
Yeah.
So just getting out of the house. And honestly, I really think that if it wasn't COVID and it was a more normal postpartum experience and I was out immediately, because obviously culturally we don't have the 40 days and all of that, and I was out immediately, I think that would have made a massive difference. Just being around people, fresh air, going for a walk, going for a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
changing out of the same pajama that I was in for a week.
Yeah.
Just little things that make you feel more human.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, you've said you're really hitting your stride.
I
And
love toddlerhood. I love toddlerhood. I would rather have an army of toddlers than one newborn, even though they're crazy. Honestly, I really would. Even though they're crazy and they have zero survival instincts and they're trying to like jump off the highest point and they're messy and they're sticky, but they're so much fun. Like I love toddlers, love. And we can have these like conversations about who's stronger, T-Rex or gorilla, and we can like do all of these things together. It's so much fun. So I'm really, really enjoying. Post 18 months, I would say, is when I really started enjoying it.
yeah. Yeah. And what does it look like being a working mother now? What does that feel like in your body, in your day, in your mind?
So I would just like to point out that I don't believe that there are mothers who are not working mothers. All of
Thank you.
mothers are working mothers. The
Yeah.
only difference is that some mothers work outside of the home and some mothers work inside of the home. So I just happen to be a mother who works outside of the home. And mind you, I do very little work inside the home. I don't clean, I don't do any of those. Um, Look, I do think that, especially within the Indian context, there is a lot of baggage that comes around that because for a lot of women, they're the first in their family who are working both inside and outside of the house. So
Right.
they're kind of breaking the tradition and they're becoming those role models that they didn't necessarily have. It's a little bit different for me because my mom was a board member of one of the largest Central European banks. Both of my grandmothers worked outside of the house. It's unprecedented not to work,
Hmm.
right? But this is something that I have always seen and there's no guilt associated with it. For
Hmm.
me, this was a very like, of course I'm going to keep on working after I have Leo, right? Because there was no like cultural pressure or expectation that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
If I stopped working, I think that would have been the shock, right? Like me going back to work when Leo was 3 months old, that did not shock anybody. So I think that I am in a little bit of a unique position in that sense.
Yeah.
However, what has shifted drastically is that I went from doing workshops and doing gender and development work and working from home a lot, only when I traveled, and I traveled quite a bit for work. But I was at home. I was working from home a lot, and I was a lot more accessible. And then Coro opened, and I literally moved into Coro, and I'm here like 7 days a week. So I think that that was a big shift for Leo. This
Yeah.
idea that mama is not accessible constantly. So he had a rough like 6 months. I would say, what? The last 6 months, get used to it. But the fact that I'm working has always been a very like, and
Hmm.
I've never felt guilt around it. That's one thing that I have to say. I felt guilt around a lot of other things, and I think that a lot of working moms do the same kind of stupid math, which is like, well, I've been at work, so I'm not gonna go to the gym tonight because I've already been away from him, so I'm not gonna go to the gym. Oh, sorry, I've been working the whole week. I barely spent, so I'm not gonna go see my friends on Saturday. Right? It's that like math that we do the whole time. I've done these things, so oh no, sorry, I can't go get my nails done now because I've already been away from the house for 7, 8 hours, right? Um, I've never met a single man who does the same math. I think that this is mom math. So I'm trying to break away from that because I also know how good it is for him to see a woman taking care of herself and prioritizing herself. These are all very healthy things for little children to see, especially because I am modeling to him what to expect from a relationship with a woman, and not just a romantic relationship, but
Yeah.
a relationship in general, right? Uh, so my guilt comes from those things like, oh, I went to the gym yesterday. Oh, I went for a yoga class. Oh no, I have not spent enough time. But work itself, I'm very passionate about the things that I do. Especially the impact work that I've been doing for the past 13 years, it really is such a big part of me, and I've never wanted to give that up. And I derive a lot of pleasure and satisfaction from it, and it makes me a better mom. I'm a shit mom when I'm at home for a full week,
Hmm.
like really bad, because I don't want to play. I'm tired. I'm just over the whole thing. But this makes me a much better mom because I am much happier and much more fulfilled, and my cup is full. So I actually have something to like give back to the parent-child relationship.
Beautiful, beautiful. And tell us a little about your work at Coro and what it's been like building and sustaining something so beautiful, beautiful, while also,
Thank you.
you
Yeah,
know,
Coro is now
I'm
the
sorry.
child.
Before you say something, I have to say that when I first heard about it, I was like, why is Tena not based in Delhi? Why is she based in Bangalore?
Welcome to Delhi. Tanushree, my co-founder, she's a Delhi girl, so Delhi is definitely on our hit list. Um, Coro is now the child that demands most of my time, not Leo. Coro is the child that demands the most out of me. I've built for what I needed,
Hmm.
right? I needed a space where I can hang out, be with my community, be close to my child, but still pursue my own ambitions. And I love Bangalore. But once I had Leo, I realized that Bangalore sucks for small children. I would always ask Josh, how come we're the only people with a small baby out in a
Yeah.
restaurant?
Yeah.
Because there's no changing table, there's no high chair. Like, forget about changing table in the men's bathroom. There's no changing table in the women's bathroom either. You never know if you're gonna like get any of the things that you need for your kid. And then you're stuck in traffic. You can't take a stroller because there's no sidewalks, right? The infrastructure to support family life is just not there. And there is an expectation that somebody, and that somebody is a mother, is just gonna stay at home with the kid and like just stop participating in life, right? Because
Yeah.
it's just too much effort to get anywhere with a baby. Then you have all of these amazing coffee shops that I also love working from, but Leo can't come there. Then you have all of these play areas, which are great for the child, but are terrible for the parent. I
Yeah.
live with a headache. The coffee is not good. It's too loud. It's overstimulating. He gets a meltdown when we leave because he's sugared up and overstimulated. So I was like, what does this actually look like if we put all of this together? I can't build sidewalks, but I can build a one-stop shop where you can spend your day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and not have to think about, is there a high chair? Is there a changing table? Are there diapers? Are there tampons? We have it all. We take away that entire part. At the same time, my friend Bhavna, who's an architect, started thinking about the same problem from a design perspective. And then Tanushri, our third friend, was like, oh my God, you two really need to talk to each other. And so the idea kind of started developing. And then when I came back from Croatia last summer, I told myself, listen, you can't talk about ideas for 2 years. You have
Yeah.
to either do it or drop it. You can't
Yeah.
just keep on talking about one day it would be so cool if we did these things. Then I started kind of looking for real estate, looking for spaces. And then I realized, okay, let's just bite the bullet. Hopefully it doesn't just resonate with us three, but with more parents. And it's been 6 months now. I was definitely, I always tell people, if I knew how much work this was going to be, I never would have done it. It's a good thing when you go into something semi-blind. I come from a gender and development background to building something brick and mortar. That's a massive jump.
Yeah.
And it's three businesses in one. It's a co-working, it's a play area, and it's a coffee shop. No, it really is three businesses in one. So I understand why no one has done it. But also forget about the long nights and the sleepless nights and all of that. When you enter the space and it's full of people and you can hear the kids laughing downstairs and you can see people hanging out and making new friendships. And you can see moms just kind of hiding in the net pod and watching Netflix for 2 hours while the kid is playing because sometimes that's exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And how you look at success, how you look at productivity, outcomes, all of those things change after you have a child.
Yeah.
So Coro is here really to be a guilt-free space that catches all of those things for you. And my most favorite thing is I came up one day and one mom was in our book nook reading a book and she's like, haha, my husband and son are playing downstairs. And she just left them downstairs and she came upstairs to read a book.
Yeah.
Fantastic use of the space. Like this is exactly what I want. But you also have people who are going back to work after maternity leaves. We have quite a few members who have left corporate jobs and are reimagining what careers actually look like for them, transferring into entrepreneurship. We have a lot of creative parents. We call them families who build, and it doesn't matter what it is. Maybe it's the next unicorn, maybe it's your family, but it's you're building something. And this really like it's a value driven space, I would say, which is also fantastic for kids because they're surrounded by kids and parents who believe in play for the sake of play, a process driven play, not outcome driven play. I always say I do not want a single STEM activity here because the kids are already under so much pressure from such a
Yeah.
young age. And I just want Coro to be a yes space for them. We want them that when they come here and they ask, can I do this? Yes, you can. Can I do this? Yes, you can. But we also understand that not all kids are extroverted. Not all kids are high energy. So we have little reading nooks, little pods where they can kind of catch a breath and just be themselves. And I think that that's a really beautiful use of the space. And Bhavna has designed the playscape with so much intent. And I
Yeah.
think that that really is the difference between Coro and other children-oriented spaces.
Yeah. Oh, the difference is massive. Just, I have not been to the place, but I have just seen the pictures and videos, and it's just so soothing and so inviting and so you want to be there. In the
Yeah,
areas, like you go there because you have no option but to go there. But here, like I want to go there. I want
yeah.
Koro to come to me, you know.
We will. We will. We will. Yeah, and we've gotten a couple of comments like, "Why is everything so beige?" Nowadays, like, where are all the colors? But the truth is, kids are messy and they bring color. But it doesn't mean that the environment itself has to be in like primary colors and yellow and red and green. But let the environment be soothing and then let the creative mess happen within the environment. The only time kids cry at Coro is when they have to leave, which is like the best review I can possibly get. We as a team can possibly get. And no one cries because they're overstimulated or because, there's too much going on, which is exactly how we wanted it to be.
Beautiful. And tell me, Tana, what does a typical day look like for you right now, if there is
Mm.
such a thing?
So I'm very lucky that Leo goes to quite an alternative play-based kindergarten, Papagoya, which is a full day. So drop-off is between 8:30 and 10, and pickup is between 4 and 5.
Uh-huh.
And that really makes all of our lives easier. Leo is not an early riser, thank God, knock on everything. So we usually wake up 7:30, 7:45, have breakfast, get ready. Then Josh and Leo drop me off, then Josh drops Leo off, then he goes to the office. And then every day in Coral looks different. It's a lot of like, I mean, it's a physical space, right? So a lot of things are like, oh, the toilet needs to be fixed, or oh, this needs to be fixed. So it's a lot of ops driven stuff, but it's also a lot of meetings, a lot of brand reach outs. This morning, I was just chatting with two members for an hour, just kind of, having a nice slow coffee morning. Then there's usually an event either or for adults or for children, or we're prepping for an event on the weekend. Then we have Mondays, we do like a strategy for the whole week as a whole team. And then the rest of the week really depends on what's kind of happening. Around 4:30, I go get Leo and then I bring him back here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So pretty much every day after school, he comes back to Coro. I take my laptop downstairs to the cafe. He plays in the play area. I wrap up my work. We have a baby chino and a banana bread. And then we go home at 6 o'clock, shower, play. We go for a bike ride or we go for a night walk. Leo has infinite energy, so he needs to be like taken for a run before he goes to bed. Or we build Legos, or we go for ice cream. We do one thing usually. And once a week after school, he's going to have a play date in the park or at Coro with his school buddies. And it's Thursday already, and you don't even know how that has happened. I usually go to bed by 10 and I read till 11 and then I pass out. I have not seen the inside of the gym since January. Since Coro opened, that part has just been completely gone.
I think you need to bring gym into Coro now.
So when we have a bigger space, so I call this Coro medium. So Coro small would be just the play cafe, and then Coro large would be all of this plus a gym. That's definitely on the cards because I need to go to the gym. So that's physical activity. Maybe I'll go for like a spin class with a friend or for a yoga class every now and then. But my goal for the second half of this year is to get into some kind of movement routine. However, nobody can have it all at the same time. That's a myth. Some things simply have to slide. And at this point of my life, this is the thing that has had to unfortunately gone on the back burner. I do not allow myself to feel guilty about that because I have a ton of stuff on my plate. And if this turns into one more thing I have to tick off my list, all of the joy of movement is going to go away and it just becomes another chore, and that's not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
So I think that if you have a lot on your plate, and all parents do, you simply have to show yourself some grace and be kind and gentle with yourself and be like, of course, right now, look, I could get up at 6 a.m., but I'm not going to because I prioritize sleep at this point in my life, right? So to be a little bit kind to yourself, I think that's a skill that we could all learn and practice that kindness a little bit more. And then on the weekends, I mean, Leo is 4.5, which means that every weekend is a kid's birthday party.
Yeah.
His social calendar is much better than my social calendar, so it's a lot of birthday parties. And Josh is an excellent tennis player. And we were really looking for like moments of connection that go away from work or discussing Leo and stuff like that. So we started playing tennis together. He's teaching me how to play tennis. So we play tennis together pretty much every Saturday.
Wow.
And that's it. And then on repeat. And then, yeah, we do try to like see our friends. We have a very close couple friends who we explore different restaurants once a month. So these kind of like small fun things that we get to do that don't take up too much time and all of our life. And Josh travels a lot for work. So Monday to Friday, I'm kind of most weeks solo parenting. So I don't parent on the weekend at all. When Josh is here, I'm like, here's your child. I'll see you on Sunday. I get up really late. We go out and I'm like, he needs to go pee, and I don't even move a finger. And on weekends, I don't parent. And on Sundays, I'm a huge believer in shift parenting. So Sunday, Leo and I always go on an adventure. We go to theater, or we see, I don't know, a dessert on Instagram. And then you know how Bangalore is. You drive 6 hours to get one thing. So we drive to get that Insta dessert or something. And then when I come home, I give Leo to Josh and I go take a nap or go for a swim or for whatever I want to do. And then in the evening, we spend a couple of hours together, and everyone goes into the week actually feeling relaxed and rejuvenated and not feeling like no one has gotten any rest. So shift parenting is like my biggest tip for sustainable parenting.
Beautiful. I am taking it back with me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Tell me, Tena, what's something about motherhood that has surprised you, either because it was harder or it was more beautiful than it was expected?
The depth of love that you're capable of feeling. I
Mm,
feel like all of the love that I felt before was like swimming in a swimming pool, and now all of a sudden you're in an ocean and you just see how much love you can actually feel.
mm,
That's just been like, it is super scary at the same time, right? Because you know that you wouldn't be able to survive anything happening to this tiny human that's trying to jump off the highest thing constantly, right? So it's a very scary feeling. And I think it also really puts into perspective. I looked at my parents and I was like, wow, you love me so much. You don't even know like what it feels like until, wow, it's so crazy how much you love me.
yeah.
That has been just, wow, insane to me to realize how much love I can actually hold. Um, What's been hardest? Look, realistically, post after my postpartum episode and depression and everything, Leo is realistically a really easy child. He eats well, he sleeps well, he was potty trained in 3 days. Like he's an easy kid. We didn't have, thank touch wood, any of those issues. And it's still hard, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
hard day to day. You come home and you're super tired, but then it's time to start your 5 to 9 and
Yeah.
the playing and the constant giving,
Yeah.
constant giving, right? And I still get a lot of FOMO and I get quite jealous of seeing how my friends who don't have kids live. You know, when you get that message, oh, let's go to Watson's in 30 minutes on a Sunday afternoon, right? Like, I can't do that. And I won't be able to do that for a long time.
Yeah.
So I still get FOMO and I'm like, oh my, what did you do this Sunday? Oh, nothing. I slept and I watched Netflix. I'm like, I've been to two birthday parties. I went to the pool. We baked the cake. We built Lego and it's still only 5 p.m. Yeah. And it's still 3 hours till bedtime. So I do still get quite jealous of that. But I always tell myself my time will come again and he will grow up and I will be able to do those things again. I thrive on being alone. I love alone time. That obviously doesn't really happen as much as I would like to. But that's why I have Coro as well, you know, so it's kind
Yeah.
of like I can get into that space. Um, but on the kind of balance of it, I do think that my life is much richer
Mm,
for having Leo in it. Um, and it's taught me so much about myself and about parenting myself, and about just becoming a more patient and more curious person.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
should all be more like toddlers and be more curious.
Yeah. And tell me, Tena, Leo is growing up watching two incredibly driven parents. What do you hope he learns from watching the way you and Joshua live, work, and love?
Kindness is everything. The only thing I want him to be is a kind person. I want him to understand that he's not more than anybody and he's not less than anybody. Nothing else really matters. I want him to be happy and kind. I do want him to obviously learn the value of hard work and discipline. But I'm not a very disciplined person, by the way, so I would like him to be more disciplined than I am. But I also understand that I'm raising him for a world that we don't know anything about. It's an uncertain world. The jobs that we do now will not exist by the time that he actually enters the job market. The climate crisis is making the world very unstable. The political situation globally is making the world very unstable. So I'm not really focusing on any hard skills
Yeah.
or like the direction. I'm focusing more on human skills that are going to be relevant always. Kindness, tolerance, empathy, openness to dialogue, openness to being wrong, openness to learning. Everything else is going to come when and how it has to come.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell me, what's one small, perhaps ordinary moment from your parenting journey that has ended up teaching you something really big?
That's a very good question. Oh no, I feel like every day is a lesson. Some lessons are good, some lessons are not so good. What I really like every time that I take a step back and I'm like, whoa, you're so right, is when Leo kind of corrects me.
Hmm.
When he parents me with the same tools that I'm parenting him with, he's like, that wasn't very kind. Can you try this in a kinder voice? You haven't been very understanding. Yeah, he constantly like tells me off. Yeah, you did not show a lot of respect to me today. I'm like, oh my God, imagine I spoke like this to my parents 30 years ago. Try this in a kinder voice. So I think that really a lot of times children kind of unmask our own how hypocritical we can be, right? And we expect them to do things because we say, but not because we do. And they hold up a mirror to our own behaviors, to our own shortcomings, which we are telling them that are bad things, and we don't want them behaving like that, but we keep doing that. To me.
Yeah, yeah. And tell me, has parenting, Leo, changed the way you lead or work in your professional life?
I think that I'm a lot more understand. So, Coro team is a fully female team.
Mm-hmm.
We are all women, and almost everyone is a mom. And I think that it made me rethink how I approach things like professionalism, the
Hmm.
myth of professionalism, which means you're available the whole time. You pick up your phone at any given moment. You work 9 hours. In India, no one works 9 hours. Like the lack of work-life balance in India blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm Mediterranean. We are out of the office at 4 p.m. and having coffee by 4:30. This here, there's like no concept of work-life balance. But what we consider professional
Hmm.
is masculine, right? It assumes that somebody is doing everything else in your life for the 8 or 9 or 10 hours that you're in the workplace. Someone's cooking, someone's cleaning, someone's doing the pickup, someone is sitting with a sick child. But we use that same stick to measure professionalism to do it for two women as well, even though women bear a disproportionate amount of unpaid labor and caregiving, right?
Yes.
So you don't have to answer my email. Maybe it's gonna come at Friday at 10 p.m. You don't have to answer it at Friday at 10 p.m. This is my company, it's not yours, right? I have to think about this 24 hours a day. You have much bigger issues in your life. None of that nonsense. This company is your family and all of that. No, your
Yeah.
family is your family. You are irreplaceable at home, but you're not irreplaceable anywhere else. We are all very much replaceable everywhere else. So just being a little bit more understanding of like um, the needs that working outside of the house moms and women in general have, because you do not have to be a mother to have caregiving responsibilities, right? You
Yes.
might have sick parents or ailing parents. There's a lot of caregiving that happens. Unpaid labor in India is the biggest discrepancy in the world between the amount of unpaid labor that women do and men do. What we value as labor, whose
Hmm.
labor counts, whose labor doesn't count. Those are all things that when you enter your workplace, you don't leave all of those things behind, right? We
Yeah.
don't live in a vacuum. Context comes with you wherever you go,
Yeah.
right? So to expect this like Western white man standard of how you're going to act in a workplace is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I do think that a lot of this, and it comes not just from my parenting journey, it really is rooted in my feminist parenting journey, right? And I do hope, I mean, I'm not gonna like now say all those things and then my team watches this podcast and they're like, none of this are true. So they have to speak to the to the truth of that. I can only speak about the intention
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah.
But the intention behind it is to be aware of the context, to be aware of the baggage that we bring in, to be kinder to ourselves and to the people that we work with, while maintaining obviously standards. This is a business at the end of the day, but business doesn't mean you have to die, right? It doesn't mean it has to be cutthroat. There is a gentler way of being ambitious and pursuing your goals while understanding, look, even me talking about all of these things, right, as a white woman in India means that there is another woman taking care of my child, my nanny, a brown woman, right? There
Yeah.
is always a race, a class, the caste issue behind it. And to pretend that those things don't exist and not to even try to unpack them is again hypocritical, because I can tell you all about, like, you can also have it all and you can also do all of those things. Can you? Maybe not, right? It's the context that matters so much. So a lot of these like insta feminist messages that we're getting about girl bossing it all, you can't girl boss it all if you don't have massive, massive support and structure behind you.
Yes, yes. And tell me, I'm so interested in what you're talking about, the feminist mom lens. What do you want Leo to see in you, not just as his mother, but as a woman out in the world?
I want him to understand the intersectionality of it all and not use one brush to paint everyone with, and never to say things like, well, my mom did it, so why can't she do it, right? To understand that with privilege comes responsibility. There's no reason to apologize for who you are and who you were born into. You didn't choose that. So it's not necessary to apologize, but there is a responsibility that comes with it. I want him to examine. And if
Mm,
there's anything that I want anybody to learn from me, is him especially, is to examine the life that we live, the position that we're in, the powers that surround us, right? Never accept the status quo, challenge the status quo, question the status quo. And that comes at a kind of a social cost. But if you have the privilege, then do it. Use it to challenge and question the status quo. I also want him to, you know how we always say, like, you've seen your mom be everything except relaxed? I want him to see women at leisure. I want him to hear, no, I'm not going to play with you right now because I'm reading a book, but you're more than welcome to get your own book and chill with me for an hour. I want him to see. I was just talking to a friend of mine who is traveling to Italy by herself. And she was like, not only is it great that my daughter sees me go to Italy by myself, it's great that she sees her father stepping in.
mm,
Because in a lot of households, we actually do not allow husbands and fathers to step in fully. You're like, no, no, I will do it. I know better, right? It's always like, I can't go because how is he going to manage? He's a parent, right? He should be able to manage. So I want him to see that in the home. I want him to see Josh cooking and cleaning. We can talk about theory as much as we want. Unless we show it with a real life example, it's not going to change.
yeah.
So somebody asked him, what do mom and dad do? And mind you, my husband runs a much bigger business than me with a lot more employees and a lot more impact. And Leo was like, Mama runs Coro and Tata cooks. And I died, but my husband was so proud. He's like, yeah, Tata cooks and Tata is a great cook, you
Mm,
know? And it's this like, let's disrupt what children see as normal, right?
yeah.
And it all starts at home. It all starts at home. So theory is just, it's secondary. It's secondary to what we actually show them on the day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Having guy friends, for instance, or having my husband go out for dinner with his girlfriends, right?
Mm,
Female friends. That you don't have to only be talking to the opposite sex when it's time to actually get married. Like you can have women are interesting enough to be your friends, right? Like these kind of things that boy and he, the second they start going to school and hanging around with other kids, your influence like drops
yeah.
significantly. So he's very much like into dinosaurs and trucks, but he also always wears nail polish and he loves rings and jewelry. But even he, who's been very secure in his choices, he went to the store and he wanted to buy a little purse with rings. And he looked at me and he was like, but is this for girls? You
Mm,
know, even though he's never heard that at home, but now obviously there's just so many other influences. And I think that I kind of act as a buffer. He can hear a thousand things, but hopefully what he will always hear is kind of me telling him and his dad and his family telling him, you can be whatever you want. You can wear whatever you want. It doesn't matter, right? As
mm.
long as there is that voice that kind of validates his choices, not every hill has to be a hill to die on, but hopefully he is going to hear that voice and remain secure in his choices.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm very, something that you said, women at leisure. I want to talk about that. How do you carve time out just for yourself or for joy that isn't linked to productivity?
Yeah. Firstly, I think we need to focus on bite-sized joy.
Mm.
If you are trying to chase this like hours and weekends and whole weeks of leisure and joy, you're gonna be disappointed. And then you're gonna be like, oh, you see, this didn't work, so I'm gonna give up. So what are those bite-sized moments of joy? My primary hobby is reading. I read every day without fail, nothing related to work. I read from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. I love yoga. I try to do one yoga class a week. I love group classes. I love that energy of being around people. I love to cook, but not like utilitarian cooking.
Mm.
Something has to happen for dinner, but like leisurely
Yeah.
dinner party cooking. But it really is just as simple as 2 pages of a book and a hot coffee in the morning for 30 minutes, or stepping out for 10 minutes in the afternoon just to get some fresh air. This is what I
Mm.
mean by like bite-sized joy, right? Because if you're only looking forward to your holiday in Sri Lanka that comes once a year, that's no way to live sustainably and joyfully. So what is it that you can do every single day? Maybe
Yeah.
it's like putting nail polish. I love when I look down and like, oh, my nails are so beautiful. I'm click clacking on the computer. I'm like, oh, it's
Yeah.
so beautiful. It's those things, right? It doesn't have to be this because there's no time for the massive things.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm very interested in this that you said, but tell me if you had an extra hour each day just for yourself, no expectations, no
Mm.
responsibilities, how would you spend that hour?
Napping. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love sleep. I would nap.
Yeah.
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 I would just nap. Um, but this is the thing. Like, I know so many of my friends and women in general, when they get that extra hour, first, you're too excited because you have an hour. So you waste half of it thinking about what you're going to do, what show you're going to watch, what snacks you're going to eat. Then you only have 30 minutes. Then you panic because you wasted so much time in a decision paralysis. Like, should I have ice cream or cake? Should I watch this or that? Then you finally sit down and then you're like, should I maybe still do laundry? One load only. I should do at least one thing. There's one email. Should I just respond to this one email? We suck at leisure. We
Yeah.
suck at leisure. And that's a fact. And it's a combination of gender culture, late stage capitalism, which convinces us that we need to deserve to live on this planet. It's a mix of all of these things. So get better at leisure. It's like learn how to be at leisure without any outcome at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And bringing you back to your parenting journey, Tena, can you think back to a moment when you felt particularly challenged or overwhelmed in your parenting journey? How did you move through it?
I recently have had a big issue with my kidneys. I had massive kidney stones, and then I had to have stents. And I was traveling to Croatia at the same time, alone with Leo. Every time when I'm sick or not feeling 100%, but you still have to parent, those have been like, for me, that's always the toughest, by far the toughest, because I feel like I'm failing him. I feel like a terrible mom. Then I push myself too hard to not fail him,
Yeah.
take him to the park while I'm dying and I have stents in my kidneys. And then obviously I regret that because then my body just gives in and it's like, what the hell just happened? You're supposed to be resting. Same thing happened last year when I had dengue. And mind you, he was being very dramatic about it. And he was telling everyone in school how mama's not there and mama doesn't play with him, to the point that people thought that Josh and I were getting a divorce because where did mama go? Uh, but those moments where I feel I'm not at 100% and when I'm unwell and when I'm sick, I put so much pressure on myself and really guilt myself into being like, oh, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough as a mom. You have to still play. You still have to take him to the park. And learning to let go of that control and be like, it's okay if you go to your aunt's and grandma's house for a day. It's okay if somebody else, it's okay if I call my friend and be like, hey, can he come over and play with your child?
Mm.
um this has been, I think, is always the hardest, is this letting go of control
Yeah.
and understanding that if you want to have a village, then you also need to use that village,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What's the point of village if you're going to be controlling and micromanaging and being like, no, no, I can do it all by myself? You can't, right? And so for me, that's always been the hardest moments where I just have to let that go.
Yeah. And tell me, what does your village look like? You spoke about it.
I'm so proud of my village and I'm so proud of myself for building my village. I've done a really good job building my village. So I've made a lot of friends after I had Leo. I think that having a child is kind of like going to school. You immediately meet a whole bunch of people, everyone who kind of has kids around the same age. I was just really lucky that everyone that Leo likes hanging out with, I really liked their parents as well. So we were a very close-knit group of friends. And even now, when I was sick and I came home from hospital, I didn't have to cook for a week because there was just food and cake coming, and people were bringing their kids so that Leo can play, so that I can take a nap. But here's the thing. Everyone wants a village or a community, but not everyone is a good villager.
Yes.
You cannot have a village if you're not willing to actively participate in it, right? So everyone's like, oh, I need support, I'm alone. But what are you doing to give support, right? That means we're all tired, we're all busy. You can still check in on people. You still show up for birthdays. You still show up for big things. You still pick up going through a hard time. You don't say, no, I'm too busy, right?
Yeah.
So this has been, I think, for me, the biggest learning. And my village, thank God and thank us, is everybody, it's so reciprocative, right? Everyone is really participating in it. We're all really supportive of each other. And I hope my friends would say the same thing about me. But it is a give and take, right? It's you can't just complain that you have no support if you're not willing to provide the same level of support.
Yeah.
And we really have like an open door policy and kids pop in and out. And we have this like very hectic play dates with cake and coffee and kids just jumping on top of each other. And enough trust that you can call and be like, hey, is your nanny free? My nanny's free. Let's have them meet in
Mm.
2 hours and let's have them just play. Or be like, hey, I'm having a really hard time in my relationship or my marriage right now. Come over. We'll sit on my couch, eat junk food, and watch be the big things, right? It can really just be being present.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I have asked you about a moment where you felt overwhelmed and things that stress you out. But tell me about things when you feel deeply proud of yourself as a parent. That yeah, I did good. I am doing good.
Can I be honest? I'm quite proud of myself as a mom. I think I'm doing a really good job. Now, in 20 years' time, Leo will be in therapy talking about me, but that's inevitable. I mean, all of our kids will be doing that. I think I'm a really good mom. I think that I've hit my stride. Why I think I'm a good mom is because we have fun. I have fun with him. I asked him yesterday, what do you like? Are you happy? And what do you like when we do? And he started naming things and he was like, we do so much, mama.
Hmm.
You're like, because I feel like when I'm present, I'm present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And we always talk about there's so much pressure now on like creating this magical childhood and creating core memories and so on. But kids don't care about any of those things. They just care about you being there.
Yeah.
And they don't need the unicorns and the llamas and the parties and everything else. They just need time. And once I realized that and just made sure that when I'm present, I'm present. Yeah, I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far. But look, I know what like my parents' blind spots were, right? So this is why I'm careful of not repeating certain things. And Josh is the same way. But we don't know what our blind spots are,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
I know what he's not gonna be talking to his therapist about, but I don't know what he is going to be. So I try to like in hindsight, of course, everything's gonna become clear. But I'm hoping that I'm like becoming more aware of like and also who I was as a mom and who he was as a kid 2 years ago is not the same. And
Yeah.
the same thing is going to be true in 2 years. The needs are going to change.
Yeah.
So as long as I feel like you're like adaptable and you change and you're willing to change and you're willing to grow with them and respond to their needs and respect their boundaries because they change a lot. What they were comfortable with 6 months ago is not what they're comfortable now. Just they keep you on your toes.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell me, Tena, if you could go back in time and offer a word of advice or comfort to your pre-parent self, what would you say?
You got this.
Oh, I love it.
Even when you feel like you don't, which will be often. And also, you never look at things, and I think this is something that we should all do well to remember. It's not looking at things on day by day. You need to look at them through a longer period of time, right? So a day can be shit, but a week or a month might be great. But
Yes.
we get so bogged down with the idea of this was a bad day, hence I'm a bad parent.
Mm-hmm.
And then we drag that energy. But if you look at things even like food, oh, he didn't eat well today. Yeah, but yesterday he ate a ton,
Yeah.
right? But we forget that and we're like, oh, I'm a terrible mom because today he didn't eat. So
Yeah.
look at things at a longer stretch of time
Yeah.
because kids just, they change so much on day to day. So a bad day does not make a bad parent.
That's something that it can go on a placard, and I think everybody should just hang it on their desks when they are parenting. Yeah. And finally, my last question to you: if there is one insight or belief or a gentle reminder that encapsulates what you believe in, who you are, for our listeners that you would want to leave them with, what would it be?
Hmm. Curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take things for this is just the way things are. This is how they always were. So this means this is how they will always be. Remain curious about yourself, about your child, and the world around you. Curious, but not judgmental. And
Mm,
that's a hard combo.
yeah, yeah. How do you not be judgmental?
Oh, you know that trend on Instagram? We listen and we don't judge. I'm like, I judge before I even listen. It's a work in progress, but it's the intention that counts. And especially in the world of mothering.
Yes.
When you look at WhatsApp groups, when you look at Instagram, the second someone does things a little bit differently than us, mothers are each other's worst. How can she feed like this? How can she still co-sleep? How can she still breastfeed? How can she not breastfeed?
Hmm.
Because we feel almost like it's a personal attack.
Yeah,
Maybe what I'm doing then is not good enough. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, right? So we're very judgmental about how other people parent and how other, especially mom's mother, because the bar for a good father is in hell, right? He
yeah,
changes one diaper, he's an amazing dad.
yeah,
But we're super judgmental about how moms actually parent.
yeah.
So this is where the be curious but not judgmental comes in. I'm curious, why do you still co-sleep, right? But
Mhm.
I don't judge you for it. Mind you, I still co-sleep. Leo was sleep trained at 6 months and he still sleeps in my bed. So, and if you ask me when he was like 6 months or 1 year, I would say absolutely not. At four
No.
and a half, of course, he's gonna be in his own room. He's not gonna be like this in my bed. But the curious part to me says, well, you know what? It's easier for me if he just sleeps with me. Then I get up 5 times every night and go into his room and have to then calm him down. I prioritize sleep at this point in my life. So this is where we're at, right?
Yeah.
But every parent has a story like that. So do curious and not judgmental. And then really we will understand that it's not a mom against mom. It's moms against patriarchal systems that make us feel like we're not good enough continuously.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tena?
Because if you think that you're not good enough, what will you do? You will buy. You
Mm,
will buy the product that ensures the sleep. You will buy the product or the course that ensures your child will eat. You will buy gym memberships. You will buy everything, right?
yeah,
But if you are like, no, I think that I'm doing good and we're all happy, then you won't buy.
yeah.
So all of these are parts of a bigger system. So not mom against mom, mom against system.
I think you have given us a training, a workshop in this podcast. I'm going to recommend selfish motive behind it, but I think this episode is turned out so beautiful because of your work. It shines through.
Thank you. Well, get in touch for a feminist parenting checklist.
Tena, thank you so much for your
Thank you
honesty,
so
your
much, Neha.
strength. and for bringing all of it here so generously. Your
Thank you
story
so much.
is the one that will stay with me, and I know it'll resonate so deeply with many of our listeners too. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for spending this hour with us. If Tena's story moved you, reminded you of your own, or simply made you feel a little less alone, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and share parenthood with the people in your life. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye bye.